Yeah. Well, we're back. It's been a month. The Primetime Rundown. Nick Partain, Joey Jarzynka on hand with you here. It's been a month. It's been a month. So much has gone on in the last month. I don't even know where to even start. It's been a rocky road. It's been all Antonio Brown doing his things.
We could have done a podcast every day of like a 4-day span with him.
Could have done
just on him.
Whatever it is, and as you see, we have a little bit of a different layout here from our studio, and alongside Nick Partain, I'm Joey Jarzynka. The Primetime Rundown comes to you live on the N95 Sports and Entertainment Network and SoundCloud Radio. We no longer are on Blog Talk Radio. We wish them well and thank them for the previous 5 episodes. We got a lot to talk about. The Primetime Rundown kicks off at 6:23 p.m. on Friday, September 13th, here from Long Island, New York. Nick, your boy Sam Darnold has got mononucleosis. What's he doing?
Well, I don't know what he's doing, but coming from someone who's had mono, he knows that it's awful, and that he's going to be out a while. Because not only do you have no idea when the mono is going to end, it's basically just kind of whenever your body decides to defeat it. There's no treatment, there's no nothing. Like, they really just can give you painkillers for like your throat, and they really can't do anything. It's just whenever you feel better. And then I know in my case, after I was finally healthy and out of the hospital and actually feeling better, I wasn't able to lift heavy things for a while. I worked at CVS and they didn't let me lift anything for like a month.
It's absolutely
who knows
crazy.
when they're going to let Darnold back on the field. It could be legitimately like 2 months by the time he's healthy and feels fine, and then they actually let him back on the field and practice. This is going to be a while.
And we also don't know what the deal is, too. Apparently there were numerous reports that came out that he lost about 5 pounds in just over a couple of days. Let's not forget, too, that a massive Week 2 on Monday Night Football ahead for the Jets against the Cleveland Browns, who now surprisingly have 2 consecutive primetime games for the first time, and I don't even know when. You have Week 2, and Week 2 against the Jets, and then Week 3 is on Sunday night. The Rams go to Cleveland. So that could get ugly, and it will be on national television. And most people, I would assume, would think, well, it should be flexed out. It's only Week 3.
It'll be at least a storyline entertaining kind of thing, because you got to assume Cleveland's going to beat the Jets, and then the Rams and Saints is going to be a great game. So I don't think there'll be enough hype to keep that on. They're not going to flex it, even consider it. It'll have enough hype, even if, let's say, Cleveland is 0-2 miraculously, it'll still be a hype game.
There's a lot that has changed since we've last been on the air, Nick. We have some new gadgets here. We have our monitor finally working. The first month and a half, our monitor wasn't working. Well, a little bit of research can make things better instead of doing things, impromptu decisions.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said there, and we have our Twitter feed up. We have both of it up. There's so many good things that we have here. A 2-camera setup. We have just so much. Everything for us has now gotten better. Officially, a full logo as well, and to start off with Sam Darnold having mono, Nick, as a Jets fan, I feel really bad for you. And not only that, there's a possibility he could be coming back on October 6th against my Philadelphia Eagles in Philly.
That'd be kind of shocking. That seems like a really quick turnaround. I'd like to, because what happens with mono is, I think your spleen gets very sensitive or swells up or something, and that's why they told me I couldn't lift heavy things. So if he gets any kind of spleen vulnerability, he obviously can't get hit. That's obviously something you're going to avoid. So I can't imagine this is going to be that quick a turnaround unless the mono itself only lasts a few days. But mine lasted 2 weeks. So.
And, well, they were also they did say, I believe, that they did come out with a few articles, and it did say that his spleen was enlarged to the point where it could burst if he were to get hit in the midsection. So he cannot be anywhere on the field. He can't be in the building. He can't be anywhere. Mono is not something to joke around with, and obviously look who I'm talking to. Someone who I visited in the hospital years ago, and
I still can't believe you took that picture.
I did. I took that picture, and really, I'll put that up here in just a moment.
Oh, God.
And,
it was my first beard too, because I just refused to shave or do anything personal hygiene whatsoever. It was a really nice time.
And definitely tell all the listeners that, because I'm sure that those listeners will probably tune out that right now. But let's keep it moving forward, and the Jets' injuries. We've heard so much in the last few days. C.J. Mosley. We've heard Quincy Enunwa's name.
Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, Quinnen Williams as well. We've heard of many different names that have been out there.
Le'Veon Bell had the whole shoulder thing, but he's fine.
He came out publicly and said that he's good. He did say that he's blessed to be out there. His shoulder is good to go. Good for him, I guess. I mean,
his back's feeling okay because he's going to have to carry the offense for a while.
Trevor Siemian, a Super Bowl winner.
I mean, technically, yeah.
Technically, yes. He does have one Super Bowl ring. Listen, I tell you one thing. You have Super Bowl. You have that in your locker room, and you learned under Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
You learned under Peyton Manning, and I got to tell you,
there are worse backups to have. They could steal a game or two with him. It's just the Jets' schedule to start the year is brutal.
It's very difficult.
And after blowing that Buffalo game, they really couldn't afford to lose that one with the amount of tough games they have coming up. I mean, they could legitimately be 0-2, 3, 4, 5, 6 easily, and then could even lose the 7th one at the Jaguars before they finally get the Dolphins in Week 8. Week 9 they have a bye in there, but it's just they couldn't afford this. They couldn't afford to blow the game against the Bills. They couldn't afford to get anyone hurt or have anyone hurt. Now they've lost several key pieces. Mosley and Quinnen could play, but we don't know. I mean, Mosley obviously is a very important piece to their defense after the way they collapsed against Buffalo when he went out. But just at this point, they're probably going to be 0-6 or 0-7. They're probably just going to be able to punt the season almost. Not give up, but after they have those first 7 tough games, they're at Dolphins, home to the Giants, at Redskins, home to the Raiders, at the Bengals. The second half of their schedule has a run of 5 games that are really easy. But by that time, they might be out of it. It might even be better if they just kind of tank without being obvious about it. Get another high pick, come out next year, and take another swing at this thing. It sucks, but one weekend, it's legitimately a scenario where they just aren't going to be able to bounce back quick enough without their starting quarterback with the schedule.
Jamison Crowder got me 23 fantasy points. I want him to stay.
You put him in?
I didn't put him in, but
he didn't get him.
Well, okay, he got my bench the points.
All right. Well,
he got my bench the points, and it would really stink. And the biggest person that I would feel bad for is Ryan Khalil, who came out of retirement because I do believe that he did have the intention. He had really good intentions of playing on a contending team, and really, on paper, it's fair. But the team, though, on paper is contending.
Yeah, they would have
I
been
do believe it
for a playoff spot. If they could have got out of this early gauntlet near 500, I would have absolutely said they had a chance to make the playoffs, and I thought they were going to be a possible wild card team. But it doesn't surprise me with the Jets at this point. You blow a first game against a team that you are more talented than, leading at home.
Well,
same old Jets.
I will tell you, but the positive though is that the bye week does come at week 4 rather.
Right.
So it is an extremely early bye week, and for Sam Darnold to be back at week 5, with you look at the opponents after is Philly, Dallas, New England, Jacksonville, Miami, and thankfully for the Jets' sake, Jacksonville is without Nick Foles for a majority, if not all, of the season. So we'll see what happens on Week 8, October 27th. That game will be in Jacksonville against New England. It's on a Monday night. Listen, it's New England. That's good enough for me. Dallas. Hey, listen, they're going to the Meadowlands. So I think
they have a little experience playing them.
They do. That is true, but they have it when blue is shining in that building, not so much green.
Same thing.
And it's same exact building. And then the good thing is that they have Miami. They host the Giants, which is a good thing.
Host, as if that matters.
It's the same exact thing. It's just one locker room is different. And then they have a full schedule between weeks 8 and week 14 that are 6 straight winnable games.
Yeah.
Against, again, the Giants, the Redskins, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, Nick. I want to touch upon them, and I don't want to go off.
Tanking.
Yeah, no, that is an obvious tank, and let's not forget too. On top of the obvious tank, it's going to be a bad situation for Stephen Ross and the entire Dolphins organization. Honestly, it's very sad to see what's happening. A storied franchise is going down the drain, literally. Minkah Fitzpatrick, along with numerous other players, we don't know who, but I can only imagine. It's a matter of time, truthfully, before we see the rest of the team. Anybody on that team will want out.
Yeah, but I don't get these guys. I really don't. Did anybody in their right mind think the Dolphins could contend this year? They don't have a quarterback. You don't know what Josh Rosen is. The rest of their team was garbage. They spent time cutting bad eggs out of the team, letting guys like Ajayi and Sue, guys like that go, cutting money. Like, they're preparing for a rebuild. This happens in sports. There was no way Miami was going to win games. No matter what magic they pulled, it just wasn't going to happen. You're better off tanking for a year. The fans and the players need to understand this is best for the long-term plan of the Dolphins.
Yes.
They're going to lose, and it's going to happen.
Yes, but the problem that I have here is that they've cut so many things. There's no plan. That's the problem.
The plan is cut payroll, cut all your bad eggs, start a culture, and then start building through the draft next year.
Yes, I get, but then you also have to look at the fans, because if you look back with Mike Wallace years ago, you also look back with Mike Pouncey years ago. Who were you going to build around? You couldn't figure out somebody who you were going to build around. Brandon Marshall.
Those guys they signed for big money didn't work. So don't do that. Build through the draft.
So
they have to be smarter with the way they build their team. They did it completely incorrectly, and they've never been a decent team.
Mike Tannenbaum, years ago, after he left the Jets, went to the Dolphins. That one absolutely was a disaster. Let's not forget Kenyon Drake, Devontae Parker.
These guys are like mediocre.
They are mediocre.
It's not building blocks.
But do you build around Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, you'd like to, but if he really wants to get out of there and you can get a high pick for him, then it's almost a lateral move.
But you were also supposed to build around Laramie Tunsil too.
Yeah, they got a first-round pick for him.
Yeah, well, and the problem is that Houston is going to be very good.
Are they? They look pretty bad at the end of that game.
They did, but
the offense was throwing the ball around fine, but Watson got destroyed again.
Well,
he's taking way too many hits.
He is taking way too many hits, but the whole thing, though, is that you saw there was 13 points scored within almost, I think, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was a while
for both teams. That team was absolutely amazing. That game, rather, was absolutely amazing, in my opinion, and my jaw was dropped when I saw that last touchdown, or rather the Will Lutz 58-yarder.
Yeah.
His career was 57. So kudos to them, but Houston has a lot of work to do, and really also, Nick, and something that I didn't bring up is that in this time since I last saw you and since we were on the air, how about Andrew Luck no longer being in the NFL?
Well, the more important part is we lost the Captain Andrew Luck Twitter account, which is probably half of the reason I'm on today. That was such a freaking enjoyable Twitter account. Had the alerts on every time that account tweeted. It brought a smile to my face. R.I.P. Captain Andrew Luck.
Yeah, he's going to be missed. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be missed, and really, I think they're going to still be good. Most people think that I'm crazy.
Brissett looked pretty good in that game. Like, that Charger game came down to the absolute wire, and Brissett played well. I don't think he's that bad. He's not Andrew Luck, but they'll be competitive in most of their games.
I think they go 9-7.
The rest of their team has been built good. I can see that it doesn't even get them in the playoffs, maybe. So we'll just see. I think they're a respectable franchise. They extended him in case he plays really well. But what they're going to have to do, really, is improve the rest of the team. Because Brissett is not a superstar quarterback, and I don't know if he has that ceiling, if he's going to get that much better. He's been around for a while now. So.
He has been. He has been around for a while, for sure.
It might have to be a situation where they built the rest of the team so strong that a mediocre quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over and has some big moments can win them games.
Yep, and they do have a lot of good players on this team. Darius Leonard, Jabal Sheard, Justin Houston, T.Y. Hilton, Eric Ebron, who we know is good. Their offensive line, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but on paper, on the field, at times within the last year, has been the best in the NFL.
Yeah, they went from being one of the absolute worst to very strong very quickly. And when Ryan Grigson was fired because he was dreadful, the new guy came in, Chris Ballard, and he's been unbelievable. He rebuilt whole line, high picks, started there, started in the trenches, and then just completely overhauled the roster and made it work. It stinks that Andrew Luck is now gone because it was all built around him, and then he, just his body didn't hold up.
I just believe that, and he did exactly what he had to do for himself.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell he didn't want to. It wasn't him being like, I made a lot of money, I don't feel like playing anymore. Why bother and try? His body couldn't handle it. It was so emotionally taxing to be rehabbing constantly, and it just took a toll on him. I completely get it. I feel bad, because he was one of those guys that I loved to watch. He was so fun to watch. And I always go back to his first playoff game against the Chiefs, where they were down like 20-something points, and he led the comeback, and he had that weird touchdown that it got fumbled back to him after the running back was trying to run it in, and he fumbled, and it came right back to Luck, and he had to dive over the line, and he scored. He was just such a fun player to watch. The improv, the running ability, the unbelievable throws. He simply
could not stay healthy, and it really does stink, and I do feel bad for him.
Minor things, that he had some bad injuries that were just rough to have to rehab and fight back from, and never knowing what his timetable was, and lingering things, and it just stinks.
I mean, heck, 2 years ago he was out.
30 years old already. Yeah. It seemed like he was just drafted a few years ago, so it just didn't play well for him. It stinks.
We do have some breaking news that we do want to bring in here. We're going to switch over to the NHL first. I do want to say we are not getting paid for this, but I do want to say that NHL 20 did come out today. We do have it. That's not the breaking news that I'm about to say, but calm down, Nick. I just wanted to say that it's out, and it does have to do with Toronto, actually. But Mitch Marner has not officially signed the deal yet, we don't think, but Darren Drager from TSN is reporting, quote, now getting the sense the Leafs are closing in on a Marner extension, and the possibility, or the chatter around his neck of the woods sounds like a 6-year term, not official. And on top of it, Nick, let's not forget this too. Mike Babcock did come out on TSN 1050 this morning and did say to the crowd, or the media crowd rather, that he is very close to naming a captain of the team. 3 potential options that he did say. Obviously, John Tavares being one, Austin Matthews being a second, and a third, which I never really expected, but it could be, Mr. Morgan Riley. He has been wearing the A for a little while.
Yeah, he's been the longest tenured Leap of those 3 guys. He's been the leader for them since they were terrible. So.
And the last time that there was a C on any Toronto Maple Leaf was Dion Phaneuf in 2016 before he was traded to Ottawa. So that's the breaking news there, and obviously we have not forgotten about our 5:16 and 6:31 updates, but unfortunately we will have to scratch the 5:16 update due to our show changing from 6 to 8.
We missed 6:31.
We did, that's okay though, but we also did a little bit different this time around. Let's keep it moving forward though, and something that we have not spoken about since we've gotten back here. And the last time, Nick, we were on the air was week 1 of Hard Knocks. And now that things have gotten so out of hand, have gotten so crazy, and Antonio Brown is now a member of, what a shocker, the New England Patriots. And he's going to be playing against
Miami. We don't know for sure that he's eligible to play, but we don't know for sure that he's going to play. Nothing has been fully announced. He could be inactivated. We have the whole domestic violence thing swirling around him that obviously is new since we've last been on here, but there's no guarantee he actually plays.
Well, that was the next thing that we were going to discuss, and the next thing that we were going to discuss, obviously, is the domestic violence case. So Brittany Taylor, his former trainer, has come out and said, or placed allegations against him that she was raped by Antonio Brown, and obviously both Nick and I are both very, we have very, what's the word, the best word for it? We feel very different about these things. And Tyreek Hill got an extension while we were gone as well, and it falls along the same.
He got a major injury, so Romo might be looking.
It falls along the same lines, but really, there's numerous things that are going on with Antonio Brown, obviously, between the cryo chamber issue, the cryotherapy issue with the frostbite. Then we find out the helmet issue. Then we find out that he just doesn't want to be there. He gets into a fit and basically almost into a fist fight with general manager Mike Mayock, who is completely old school and I think is one of the best in the business. In football terms, I don't know about general manager yet, but we'll find out in due time. But a cancer is out of Oakland and now in New England. We'll see how Bill Belichick and the rest of the Patriots see his presence, see what happens with it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. This morning on ESPN, it was spoken about between Damian Woody, Max Kellerman. We'll get the first comment right now here for us.
Yeah, that was me. Then he shouldn't be playing on Sunday, guys, because at best it just looks terrible. And even if you're going to say that verbally to someone, you put it in writing. So at best, that's a stupid tax you pay. Sit down. I don't understand. Like, I get it under normal circumstances, but we have something in writing that he said to it. I'm not even talking about the way he was kind of cruel and all that stuff. I mean, the thing he admitted to in black and white. I just need to know, did you say that? If the answer is yes, he's not playing Sunday. Come on, let's see.
As Max Kellerman from ESPN did say this morning on First Take, we'll get Damian Woody's counter reaction on that one. In my opinion, I think the NFL has made its bed in terms of the what the shield means. I think they've also made their bed in terms of what they're going to do in terms of basically consequences for these football players. And I think that with Tyreek Hill getting an extension, he was rewarded.
Well, he wasn't rewarded by the NFL in that sense.
No, he
was
wasn't.
by the NFL by not getting suspended for
He
something
was double rewarded. Tyreek Hill was, and it's a shame because he was rewarded by the league to be allowed to play football again, and then he was rewarded by the Chiefs for a 3-year, $54 million deal. And really, you do certain things along those lines, and Antonio Brown is not in a domestic violence issue.
Basically is.
He is, but it is, but it's not his wife. It's someone else, okay? And it's not his children, okay? But here, it's a sexual assault, and it's on a former trainer. So it's considered sexual assault on somebody else, not his wife.
Right.
Damian Woody, what do you have for us?
So, without having to speak to her, why would you put him on the commissioner's acceptance? Listen, we're specifically talking about the Patriots here. Let's not forget, these teams are in it for one thing, that's winning football games. Okay? So, as long as Antonio Brown is eligible, and the commissioner, and Adam Schefter already said that it is important that the commissioner doesn't plan on putting Antonio Brown on the exempt list as of right now, why would the Patriots put him out there and play? You're in it to win it, man. That's what it's all about. It's really that simple.
You're in it to win it. You're the New England Patriots. Do you allow him to play on Sunday?
I mean, you have to. You're a football team, just like the Chiefs rewarding Hill with the extension. Like, if one of your better players is available, you're going to play him. Like, these, they just don't think ethically, these teams. They can't. They're in the business to win games. That's it. So, if you do anything but that, people are going to be confused. The NFL's job to suspend these guys, put them on the exempt list, fine them. I mean, the teams can do that, but it's I don't know. Like
Clearly
morally, yeah, you would
it's not
think the
working.
Patriots would be able to say, hey, we should just release this guy or suspend him or something like that. But like, it's the NFL's job. They're the ones who's supposed to do it, and if they let him through, the Patriots are going to try and win games, and they're probably going to play him. Like, this is just how the NFL works. And it's unfortunate. You would like to see a guy get punished, or at least have to sit out until his whole situation is rectified, but that's not how it works. Teams are doing everything they can to try and win games every single week, and that means he's going to play if he's available to play. He's one of the best receivers in the league when he's healthy, so that's just what's going to happen.
So let's continue. Let's continue with this. The way I see it, I think that you're right. He has to completely play. The NFL has made its bed in terms of allowing these players to continue playing. It's very sad to see that there is no consequence for these football players. And for those who do not know, I mean, it's very difficult to see just basically like the day before a game, and there is you have a whole article that says, okay, Antonio Brown's going to be playing Monday night against the Broncos. Then you come out a couple hours later and says, no, he's not playing. Release a phone call, release all of this. And then all of a sudden, the day after, it gets released. And within how many hours, Nick? I'd say within 2 hours, 2.5 hours at most, the Patriots scoop him up.
No,
Okay, 3 hours.
No, I feel like
3, 4, 5 hours.
around like noon, and then I think by like 5 I got the notification that he got signed. So I think
So-
it was like 4 to 5 hours, because he wasn't like allowed to sign anywhere until after 4 p.m. was the whole, I think, ordeal. Like, he got released earlier that day, but he couldn't officially sign until after 4. So that's what.
So whenever it was, I personally believe that all of this was an act. All of this was an act. There was no doubt about it, in my opinion, and the way it looks for even some people, that Antonio Brown was doing this as almost like an acting job. There have been sources that have came out and said on ESPN, or reported by ESPN as well, and Fox Sports and Sports Illustrated, everywhere that we've seen so far, that Antonio Brown was reaching out to social media experts to try and find a way to stir the pot.
Yeah, but my question is, when did that start? I don't think that started until after he had the argument with Mayo. Because he definitely didn't get the cryogenic injury on purpose. And I think the helmet thing, he was legitimately trying to gripe against the league, because he had an argument that a lot of guys have gotten a 1-year grace period before they change their helmet, even if it's off of the approved list, and he wanted that and he didn't get it, whatever. I think that was legitimately him trying to fight for it. I don't think he was ducking the Raiders until he got fined for not being there. I think that's what set everything off. He got in an argument with Mayock just on his own, being annoyed, and then I think from that exact moment forward is when he was like, I want out of here.
I personally think I disagree in a sense.
He's leaving $30 million on the table by pulling that maneuver. Like, I mean, it wasn't guaranteed once he got fined, but you never know, things can change. They can re-guarantee it or whatever. If he, behaved and played well that year, they might have been like, all right, we'll give you the guarantees back or whatnot. But like, now he has nothing. He has a 1-year deal guaranteed, and that's it. And I think it's only like
And
9
it's
of
not
the 15. Like,
9
he could
of the
earn
15 is
15, but there's some
guaranteed.
big numbers he has to hit for the season. If he doesn't play, he's not going to hit them. Like, he was like 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns or something.
I
I don't know if he'll get there. He might only make like $10 million this year, so he's hurting himself.
He's definitely hurting himself, but also I believe that he never wanted to be in Oakland.
No, I don't think so either. He was traded there, and then they offered him the money, so he took it. But I think after a while he was like, I probably shouldn't be here. But
And I feel, but the whole problem with me though is that the way that all of this went down, from the helmet, I think that there was many things that were escalated, and I do believe that they could have been easily avoided. And in terms of the helmet issue, yes, I do agree with you that he definitely did have a legitimate argument for sure. The flying in on the hot air balloon.
guys do weird stuff like
They
that.
do, but You don't see that ever, okay? And they do come in with different things, okay? You saw Yoenis Cespedes came in on a horse, okay?
Yeah, like,
he came in on a horse, fine. But he wasn't coming in terms of, he didn't have any other problems. He didn't have any other baggage in terms of, obviously he had many injury baggage and coming from the A's, yes. But I'm saying he did not have frostbite on his feet where there was dead skin all over the place where it limited him in his running, in his agility abilities.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it.
I still come back to the fact nobody cuts themselves out of $30 million over little legitimate gripes like this. I don't think he ever really wanted to be a Raider because he was traded there, but he took the money, and he was going to play, I think, for the Raiders. I don't think he got annoyed until they started finding him when he was doing things that he felt like was necessary for him to be at his best. He wasn't practicing because he couldn't get the right helmet. Yeah, it's annoying. It's a little diva, but most wide receivers are that way. If the Raiders really valued him, they would have just had a talking to him. Really, is that $100,000 that they're going to make off of that fine really going to do anything for either team? It's not going to affect Brown's income at all. He doesn't care about the income. It's not going to affect the Raiders' final line. It's $100,000 for them. That's nothing. You really get afraid of the whole thing over such a little dinky amount? Both sides were wrong there. They shouldn't have been playing with something so delicate, but I don't know. And then you look at the team Brown chose. The Patriots ever pay their own guys? He could go off this year, and you know what the Patriots are going to do? They're going to let him sign somewhere else. They're going to take a third-round compensatory pick and pick a guy who's going to be younger and just as good.
I personally believe that he's not going to make it the entire year.
Oh, he might not at this point. With this whole freaking allegation thing going on, he could be cut by like next week.
I personally believe that the Patriots would have no problem, and I guarantee you that is definitely.
They could cut him at any time.
Not only that, they will eat that $9 million because really, what's $9 million to them?
Right,
not
exactly.
much. Because really, I think they can win the Super Bowl with or without him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we saw
We've seen him win without Gronk in years where Gronk was by far their best receiver. It's like they have so much depth offensively right now. It does not matter.
We also saw it in this game as well.
Yeah, this past week they went
against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Philip Dorsett, who's now like their fourth wide receiver if Brown is there, had an absolutely amazing game. The Patriots are just the masters of next man up. Everyone on that roster is able to contribute. So if Brown's not going to be able to contribute, they don't need him. They really don't. Just making this more and more curious to me why Brown would try and wiggle his way out of Oakland to go somewhere where A, he's not needed. B, they don't pay guys. And C, Bill Belichick is like the hardest hard coach out there on guys. Why would he want to go there of all places?
Which is why I believe that there was something that was orchestrated. Because there is no way.
He wants to stick it to Pittsburgh. That's the only thing. And if you want to go to New England, that's where you're going to do. You're going to stick it to Pittsburgh. Maybe Baltimore didn't have interest, and the Browns really didn't have interest. So he was like, you know what, New England will annoy Pittsburgh. Like that. Which I guess makes sense. You're going to leave $30 million out of the table for that?
Well, it just shows really where his mindset is, and it is not. And he's absolutely insane, and it brings back who is worse. Who is worse is what I want to know. Odell Beckham or Antonio Brown? I don't know. I think that they're pretty close.
I mean, there are some differences. Brown doesn't really cost his team on the field the way Beckham has. He's taken some ridiculous penalties and done some really wonky things during games, whereas Brown, up until really like the past 12 months, really never really was that much of a distraction. He had the whole Facebook Live thing after the playoff game, but it was really the only blemish on his resume up until that point, and then now it's just been all these weird diva things in a quick year-long span, but before that he was fine. Beckham's has been his whole career, but then again, Beckham's been, when he's on the field, he's amazing, so I'd say overall Beckham's been worse because he's cost his team on the field. His team hasn't won when he's played, whereas Brown's team has absolutely been very, very good when he's been out there, and his has been isolated to, if you take out the last year of what's going on, where he was traded, he had the whole spat with Roethlisberger and all this nonsense. If you cut all that out, if you cut all this out, he's really been fine for a football player. I think most of them are insane. So
I think I also believe that also now you look at some of the things that have gone on between them, and you think, and some of the Steelers fans have, when I was in Pittsburgh for work back in February after all of this went down, this was before he was traded. Obviously, you know, is Antonio Brown going to come back? Is it Mike Tomlin? Is it whose problem is it? And now you see, after all of this, I don't think it was Mike Tomlin. I think it was all Antonio Brown, and I think that there was a lot of problems in Pittsburgh, and you don't know what happened in that locker room.
Yeah,
You have no idea what happened in that locker room, but let's just say it was not pleasant.
I think a lot,
and it was not healthy.
I think a lot of people were at fault. I think Tomlin was a little at fault for giving Ben a little too much autonomy, where he could do whatever he wanted. Like, you should at least keep an eye on him and keep him in check a little bit. And I think that's really what irked Brown, is that Roethlisberger was the golden boy. He could do no wrong. He could order everyone around, which he is the franchise quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl.
He's won 2 Super Bowls.
2?
Yep. 40 and 43.
But yeah, so like, he is going to be the leader of that team,
Mm-hmm.
and he should be given a little responsibility to coach guys up. And Brown should be receptive. But again, he's also had his own share of off-the-field incidents.
Yes, he
and
has.
He shouldn't be acting like he's a model citizen when
Right.
he's got his own checkered past. So I think all around there were a couple little things to blame here and there. We know how wide receivers are. They are divas.
Mm-hmm.
And when Roethlisberger called him out for running that bad route at the end of that game where he threw the pick, it basically exploded out from there. There was already some tension, and that was like
That was the
McGraw for
final.
Brown. He was like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
I'm like this amazing receiver going to call me out on one route where he threw an awful ball." And I don't think the route really had that much to do with that ball getting picked. 'Cause I remember watching the end of that game, and then at the goal line, and screwing that up.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like it was as much of Brown's fault as Ben made it out to be. He needed to take ownership there and be a leader. He wasn't.
So we will report on that breaking news from earlier. Mitch Marner, 6 years in Toronto, is officially done. Reported
shocked.
by Elliot Friedman. 6 years, we'll get the term in just a few moments, but
You mean
6
the money,
years.
yes, the term.
Yep. Well, okay, we'll get the money rather in probably just a few short minutes. But through the next hour that we are on the air, Mitch Marner, 6 years in Toronto, done. Training camp has begun just a few days ago. So anything with Mitch Marner being traded, anything like that, the RFA season will most likely begin now.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild with all the other dominoes. We have to see what the money is, because Marner seemed really adamant on wanting a shorter term deal than this, so I'm guessing Toronto gave in and gave him a lot of money.
Well, they're
That's the only thing I can think of, because Marner could have sat out and been completely fine with that the way Nylander did last year, wait for his money, but I don't think Kyle Dubas wanted him to sit out and be ineffective the way Nylander was, so he might have just finally paid up and said, all right, Marner, we'll give you the money, but you do have to give us more term than 3 years. That's ridiculous. So I'm guessing it's going to be something close to 13 a year.
no, and they only have about 12 and a half or close to 13 in
Right.
cap space.
So
And-
we're gonna see.
and-
It might be the kind of ordeal where they can manipulate the cap hit for this year and then just pay him more dollars down the road or something. We're going to see. It's going to be a very creative contract. We knew from the beginning this was going to have to be creative. The whole process with them making the cap space, bringing on guys they could put on long-term IR, the whole thing was going to have to be expertly done. So Dubas wouldn't sign into a contract without a plan of how to have him fit under the cap. They're
And
going
all-
to make it work somehow. It's just we're going to see what that number is to base on all these other guys that have still have to get signed. The Patrick Linus of the world.
Matthew Tkachuk, Brock Besser, Charlie McAvoy.
Right,
Let's
there
not
was
forget
one
Mikko
that-
Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen's going to be a big one. That's one's going to be big now. He's the kind of guy that's going to look at this and look his chops and see what kind of money he's going to be able to get.
And let's not forget Braden Point, too, in Tampa
that's
Bay.
another-
So
the problem
things...
with Point is Tampa just can't afford to pay him.
Yep.
Like, I think they only have like $9 million this year to pay him, so I don't know what Point's going to do. My guess is he's really going to look for a short-term deal and say, all right, I'll stay here another 2 or 3 years, try and win a cup, and if you can't pay me by then, I am. Or he might actually end up demanding a trade or sitting out. Like,
Well,
you know,
Julius Honka in Dallas already demanded a trade earlier today.
it's-
So that's it. Yeah.
But Point, they have such a good culture there in Tampa that I'm sure they'll end up getting something done because basically all of their core guys have taken less money.
I mean,
there being no
Stamkos.
with no income tax there.
Yeah.
It helps, but like this has been an over and over thing. So it'd be odd to see Point not take less. You don't blame him for saying, "Oh, I want my money." We don't know what Tampa's been offering or how much they've been lowballing him, or if they're trying to give him not a lot of money and a long term, hold him at a low number. We really don't know what's going on, but it's weird to see a guy in Tampa not get signed because they're usually very good at handling all of this. So we'll see. It's kind of like Zeke Elliott, where the whole time it was like, yeah, it's probably going to work out because it's the Cowboys. They always pay their guys. So that's kind of how I feel about Tampa, but this is a very odd situation. Point is worth more than the cap space they have left. So it's very dicey.
Last year, Braden Point had 92 points. He is the second highest point getter in terms of the remaining RFAs. 92 points, 41 goals, 51 assists. He averaged a point and a quarter a game.
Yeah.
1.16
You do have to
a
take
game.
that with a grain of salt that he's playing. I believe he was on a line with Kucherov. So that's one thing. That's the league MVP playing with you. One of the best passers and goal scorers in the league is going to
Plus-
make life easy.
Plus 27 in
They were one
plus
of the
minus.
best regular season teams in NHL history, scoring at an incredible rate. You have Hedman on defense distributing. I mean, every perfect storm was there for Point to have an amazing year. He's a good player, but he cannot say, oh, that's the year I'm going to put up every year. They can't reasonably expect that from him. So that's the leverage Tampa has, that this was an anomaly of a year. We can't expect this every year from you. And you know what? We might be able to find somebody else that we can trade with and get a younger, cheaper player, put them with Kucherov, and what numbers are they going to put up? I don't think that'll ever happen, but he has to have, Tampa's going to have that in their back pocket and say, how much of this is because you're playing with a league MVP? And then a guy like Stamkos, who's incredible. Like, there's so many weapons on this team where he doesn't have the leverage of saying, you need me. I mean, they really don't.
There's so many loopholes that have to be figured out here between the rest of the RFAs, between Ivan Provorov that was just signed, $6.75 million AAV for 6 years. That was a pretty good deal for an up-and-coming defenseman. Josh Morrissey in Winnipeg, you figure.
I don't remember hearing much about him being that great, and he got a lot.
6.25. He got 6.25 until
Very
27.
odd choice for Winnipeg to extend Morrissey instead of signing their two elite goal scorers that they've tended to ignore. So it's odd.
So looking at Darren Dreger, what he wrote, Marner extension with Toronto is 6 years, just shy of 11 million AAV. So really now
Sounds
what
like
I want
Marner
to know,
caved.
sounds like Marner
That
definitely caved.
sucks.
That's what it sounds like for him, and really, and it sounds a lot like Mitch Marner definitely caved in because he was
the term
looking
he
for.
wanted, and he didn't get the money he wanted.
Yep.
So
So Toronto bit the big win on that one, but it still does not. It still does not. The fact remains that Morgan Riley is the only defenseman signed following this year.
yeah,
But
they're going to have to perform.
but $14 million in defensive money comes off the books
Yeah, but
this year. But then you have to
you
re-up.
replace
You
those,
have to
and
replace
replacing all your
all
defensemen for $14 million is hard. So.
Exactly. Yep. And you also have $13 million that come, or actually, 13 million off the books in the injured reserve list. A lot of money comes off the books, but it's you have now three forwards at $11 million, or you figure about $11 million.
Yeah, take the three averaged out, it'll be rough.
It's gonna definitely be rough moving forward
Yeah,
for
but
Toronto.
it's a good problem to have. There's three superstar players who are all worth that money. It's not like none of those guys are worth it. So
See what happens on the defensive side of things.
they'll still lose to Boston.
There you go. So let's keep it moving forward. Let's look at hockey. The New York Islanders, they had media day yesterday. Joshua Hosang was there, and a quote that he did say, Nick, was that the team went 9-1 in 10 games when he was up there, and he made that very clear. Is he stirring the pot? I mean, that's to me. I think that is you don't. That's something you don't say if you're willing to. If you want to get, that's something maybe you could have said with Garth Snow in charge, but not here.
Yeah, I mean, he's just frustrated. He wants to play. He knows he's talented enough to play. It just something has to continue to be going on off the ice that's keeping them from wanting to play. So like, I'm not surprised by this kind of thing. He has always had this kind of bravado, but the problem is something off the ice is keeping them from playing. And that's the thing he continues to fail at fixing. If he was a good person off the ice, and apparently I'm guessing it's still lateness, because we've heard, that's the only thing we've really heard strictly reported is that he was late during like a rookie camp or something way back. But apparently he's just not caring enough about the off the ice things, and that's keeping him from playing. He is absolutely talented enough. I really wish he would get his act together, because I'd be completely fine with him being in our top 6 this year. He can absolutely play. He is an NHL caliber forward. Immense skill. I don't think he's that bad defensively that he'd be that much of a liability.
No,
you put him on a line with forwards who are good in their own zone, and it balances itself out. He'd be really, really nice on a line with Nelson and Bailey, I feel like. Filling in that They play him either on the off wing or switch Bailey back to the left and play Hosang on the right. And guys like Nelson and Bailey, who are both kill penalties and are responsible for
Hosang is aware,
forwards,
yeah.
would definitely balance that out. And that would be a great guy to have in our top 6, but I don't think he has it. Like, it's just not going to happen.
And the problem is, and now the issue is that there is many players on the team that are locked up for, obviously, beyond this season. There's not many players and not much money coming off the books following this year. So you're probably going to have, if the cap stays at the way it does now, it's going to be about close to about $14 to $15 million the way that it's going to be next year, bearing a lockout. So, Darren Drager, to be precise, Marner's AAV is 10.893 times 6 years, so the way it looks, most likely, we figure. Someone did report just now, David Pagnotta, Leafs and Marner have agreed to a 6-year deal worth approximately $84 to $85 million. I would assume that there's definitely some lockout protection in that as well.
When you got,
64 to 65. It looks like he did have a little bit of a typo there, but almost $20 million off. But there's got to be lockout protection. There's no doubt about it because
he seems to have lost on all other points. So who knows at this point? I'm sure there is, but because everyone has been getting that lockout protection, high signing bonuses in the lockout area. So.
Because there is a strong possibility that it could be in the next year or two, and we do not want another 2013. Hey, we went to that playoff game. How many games was it, Nick? 48 games. How many games was it? 2013.
Oh, I don't remember how short.
The season was.
Yeah, we were at game 4.
Yeah, and it was game 4, but. $10.893 million for Mitchell Marner, and
6 years.
It's 100% a steal. It is definitely something that we do not like to speak about. But 10.83. He was looking for 13. Even he was looking to be the highest paid player, and he did not get that whatsoever. Well, Nick, let's keep it moving forward. And right now, the way it is, it's 7:09 here.
I guess the only thing quickly about Marner that worked out for him is the 60-year deal. He's only 22 right now. So when that ends, he'll have a chance to cash in again at 28 and get another huge contract. So I get that he wanted to go shorter term and make even more money in like 3 years and really break the bank, but he'll still be able to get another big contract. It's only a couple $1 million a year he's losing on compared to what he's going to make total. It's like really not that big a deal.
He's definitely.
Plus, I think he always wanted to be there, so
he never wanted to leave.
Yeah, no.
He never wanted to leave for sure. But let's keep it moving forward, and really we look at also San Jose. Let's fly out to the West Coast to no one's shocking avail. Logan Couture was named team captain of the Sharks. I mean, I think we could have seen that coming.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the only other possible candidate would have been Burns, but this makes more sense being Couture's always been.
Not only has he always been a Shark, but also he has been leader when Pavelski came off, and I think we know of that legendary, with an asterisk obviously, Game 7 with Vegas, and what should not have been, but really a lot of asterisks after that. No more Joe Pavelski as he's in Dallas. And hockey season is right around the corner, Nick. October 2nd, things get started. October 4th for the Islanders here at the Coliseum against Washington. So Washington will be coming to the Coliseum. It'll be a ton of fun. We're getting close, and now that the first domino has fallen here for Mitch Marner, cannot wait to see what happens now with the remaining dominoes.
Yeah, who is going to be next? You didn't mention Brock Besser either. That's another big name.
Yeah, Brock Besser, I could see. I think it's definitely going to happen soon. It's definitely going to happen soon. So 10.893 for Mitchell Marner, as we did say. Right now, it's very funny that we say this. The projected cap hit right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs is $94,865,199, and for obvious reason, the Leafs have many long-term injured reserve players to be, put in there. But then you also have Zach Hyman looking to come back. This team is going to have to make another couple of moves.
This year, I don't know. I think
Right
I
now.
don't know. I just can't imagine Dubas could have not planned for this. He got a great deal here, and I'm sure at this number it was going to be easier for him to make it work for the season.
I'm sure he did too, but $13 million that has to go into long-term injured reserve, that leaves with $81 million. 81.5 million rather. I believe the cap hit for the NHL right now, I believe, is 81.5. It's actually 81.5. So Toronto actually is at the tippy top, literally the tippy top. So it's going to be pretty good there to see what they do. And I mean, hey, I hope they lose, but most likely they will.
Yep. Just the top of the division is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
As good as they are, Tampa and Boston are still better.
There's no doubt about it. Hey, you know what? I think you sent this to me. Justify and the New York Times report, and that's something big. And,
we were there for that too.
We were there. We weren't inside for that, but we were watching just outside on the TVs. The New York Times reported just a few days ago that the horse Justify, the one that won the Triple Crown just this 2 years ago rather, or last year rather, in 2018. Failed a drug test just before the Kentucky Derby. And it was a drug that was obviously a banned substance. And that's...
I saw a really funny tweet that said, "I can confirm that he took it unknowingly."
Yeah. So with him doing this, and this was 2 days ago that it came out. There could be an asterisk.
Yeah,
and
this is an odd scenario, because I also heard the person that reported it made several attempts to contact the owner or Bob Baffert, the trainer, and try and get some kind of quote or anything out of them, and they refused to respond at all, so he just dropped the article.
And it reminds some people that are listening, for tennis fans out there, we'll get to tennis in a few moments, but with tennis, Nick, and I know you're not a big follower of tennis, I know I am, I played it, I love it. I also love Maria Sharapova too, and it's very funny because when she came out with her drug dilemma, the same exact thing as what you said just now is what Maria Sharapova said, and what multiple people came out and said at the time as well with her. And she refused to look at the emails. She refused to answer anyone's calls. She refused to listen. And really, that's a shame for her, because she got suspended. And not only did she get suspended, but now for everything that she's done, there's an asterisk rather. And for Justify, out by the finish line at Belmont, there should be, in my opinion, an asterisk right next to Justify's name after this bombshell that came out by the New York Times.
Yeah, obviously, this is something that should have been taken care of before the race. Like, I don't understand. How do you fail a drug test and be able to race? I don't get it. Like, how does this happen? Why are they testing them? This is, like, something they're just going to ignore. Like, obviously, the sport wanted to cover it up because they wanted their event to be bigger and, you know, want to make more money, but how does the person taking the drug test not go, wait, they're not allowed to do this? And like, are they reporting to somebody? Like, there's got to be some kind of governing body that says, not allowed to race, fail the drug test. It's the whole point of the drug test. Like, I don't understand how this slipped through everyone's crack. How did this happen? How does this come out now? It is so bizarre. I'd love to know what happened in the back channels. Who was bribed? What on earth actually happened? This just doesn't make any sense to me.
Scopolamine is the name of the drug that Justify was taking, right?
Unknowingly.
And unknowingly, quote
unquote,
unquote.
the horse doesn't know it's taking a banned
We don't
substance.
know, but the person that is injecting it into the horse. Obviously, the horse does not know. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to hear?
You were quoting as if you were like saying, well, maybe the horse does know.
Well, you never know. I mean, listen. The people.
This isn't an Eddie Murphy movie. The horse isn't talking to anybody.
Between with this case, it's resulted in disqualifications. It's resulted in purse reimbursements, fines, suspensions over the decades, as says the New York Times article. And it says it here, is that it's totally avoidable, completely avoidable, and it was on April 18th of 2018 that this was all figured out. May 3rd was when the Kentucky Derby
That's
is.
plenty of time for somebody to do their job and actually report this.
Plenty of time, and it never wanted to be for anyone to find out. It never wanted to come out into the limelight, and it really, really stinks for those people that, you know, we were just saying before, me and Nick, that the race that we saw with American Pharaoh winning, that one just got even more memorable, even more valuable. And why? Because now
That's the only legitimate one in the last, 50 or so years? So.
Since affirmed in 1973, 1908, no, affirmed was, hold on, I'll tell you right now.
So you're confirm affirm?
There you go. At what year?
So basically what Joey is looking up is just confirming the fact that now we've only seen one super historic Triple Crown, which justified
1977.
It was already like a lesser one to the one American Pharaoh one because there wasn't as big of a gap and it wasn't this historic thing, it didn't get as much press, so that probably also factors into why they wanted to cover it up, because it would have made this even less of a significant Belmont, because they already had a Triple Crown recently, so it wasn't getting the typical normal buzz that probably the last one got, or any other time there was a chance for it, because we already saw it. So they were probably panicking and saying, oh my god, we're going to lose even more people, we're going to get even less attention, so we really need to cover this up and make sure that nothing goes down.
Yeah, I think personally, I think that it would have been a bombshell coming out of that. I think that this was...
Yeah, money drives everything.
We know money drives everything for sure, but the one thing that I do know for a fact is that I think that the moment that would have dropped, I think Belmont would have lost a ton of money as well. New York Racing Association would have lost a ton of money.
We would have got a better spot, though.
We would have 100% gotten a better spot. That's true, because somebody did steal our spot at Belmont Racetrack this year. Nick, let's keep it moving forward. It is 7:20 here on the East Coast here. Primetime rundown alongside Nick Partain. I'm Joey Jarzynka. NHL 20 debuted today, as we did say right here. We do have the game in hand, and not getting paid for it, but we do have this game that we will be playing later. And I already actually installed it.
Oh, I
already installed it because it's not there, right? Yeah, you see? See, I got it. NHL 20 on Xbox One. Really, really good stuff there.
The most important thing, though, is that I'm way better than Joey at these games.
Well, also, the one thing that really is most important is I have the board game Festivus.
Yeah!
And we'll get to that, and that'll be later for sure with our Chick-fil-A dinner. We'll still figure it out. Torrey Smith, two-time Super Bowl champion, hung up the cleats today. Really good, all right, let me rephrase that. A good, solid, all-around football player, good heart. He came out by video and said that this is how he's doing it. Really good for him. That's it.
I figured he was done when he didn't make the Panthers, because I really thought he was a good fit with Carolina when he signed there, because Cam likes to sling it deep, and that guy can absolutely run, so when he didn't catch on there, I figured it was over. He might just not have it anymore. Speed is one of the first things to go, so if he's even a step slower than he was, he loses a ton of value. So good for him, though. He had a good career. He was always a nice guy. Never heard anything bad about him. And that's really all you can ask for from an NFL player, is that you don't hear horrible things, because it seems like every other guy is in trouble. So good for Torrey.
And also won, as we did say, 2 Super Bowls, one with Baltimore and with the Eagles most recently. So let's keep it moving forward now with well, we're actually going to go back to hockey. And Nick, we did hear some crazy news about Vegas Golden Knights defenseman Shea Theodore was diagnosed with testicular cancer. It came out with a full-on article in the Players Tribune. He is right now okay. He did have his surgery All the prayers out to him since we've last heard that. That was just a few days ago that bombshell came out. It's absolutely crazy. Any cancer at all is disturbing for sure. But the way it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a sensitive area. You don't want cancer there.
No, you don't. Well, not even that. You don't want cancer. Period. Let alone anywhere. Anywhere. So the way it looks is also, let's go back to the Mitch Marner bombshell that we did here, led by Darren Drager, as is the trend, quote unquote. Marner's contract will be heavily front-loaded,
Which
but
makes sense. So that's finally Marner's first win, is that he's getting a lot of the money up front, and
Yeah.
the way those contracts work is the cap hit gets smooth, so I mean, he's not getting as much in the back. So we'll see what that really looks like, and if there's any ramifications to the back of the contract where he could pull some, nonsense to try and get more money once he gets past all this front loading, or how that's going to work. But we'll see. But finally, a small win for Marner. He gets a lot of the money up front, so that's probably how the Leafs were able to convince him. Like, look, we can't fit you at much more of an AAV than this. We just can't do it financially. So we'll make some kind of deal with you. We'll give you a lot of money up front, so the money's in your pocket. But overall, you're not going to make as much maybe as you wanted to. But this is the only thing we can really do. They're using time value of money on their side, Toronto, to say, you're going to get a lot of the money now, so if you calculate it out with interest, you're really going to make more because you're getting more up front and they don't earn interest. So that's like their only real argument they had to be able to pull this off. So good for Toronto. This is the way to do it. Hockey-wise, you got him at a low cap hit, and Marner-wise, he's getting a lot of money, so he's happy. And Toronto is a very rich hockey team, so they have the money to pay him a lot of money up front. This wasn't a situation with Carolina where they might not have matched that offer sheet because we don't know how much actual cash Carolina has. Toronto has cash.
Toronto has a ton of cash, and they're also, in Canadian dollars, we know that they're worth easily over $1 billion Canadian dollars, which...
I finished those chips by the way.
You finished both bags.
Oh no, I didn't finish. The second one was just a regular Ruffles. I wasn't as excited for those. The whole dress ones are gone.
Wait, hold on. Okay, we now have to bring this up here, and this has to be said. When I had gone to Toronto, there was some all-dress chips that have been...
Apparently they sell them here, I've heard. You gotta kind of find them. They are here.
Yeah, well, we'll have to definitely take a road trip next week. Exactly, all the local food stores next week, and we'll be traveling with you
on air.
all here. Exactly, on air, looking for those all-dress chips. You finished both bags of all-dress chips?
There was only one bag of all-dress. The other ones were just regular Ruffles.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'll send you a picture when I go home.
There were regular Ruffles in that bag?
Yeah, I thought you were just getting me one of each. I was like, alright, I like Ruffles. Oh, you do? I didn't realize you only got me. Yeah, I thought that was what it was. I didn't care, whatever.
I'm sorry,
whatever, I don't care.
I got you regular Ruffles?
Yeah. I think that's what
it was supposed to be double. It was supposed to be 2 of that.
Whatever.
I'm sorry, that is awful. Now I know that when either my cousins come down or I have to go up there again, and it's...
Don't go crazy.
I'm going to go crazy. It is chips, but going back to what we were talking about with Toronto, with the Leafs and with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Network, or Sports and Entertainment rather, they are worth easily over $1 billion Canadian, which equates to obviously 700 million American, but they're definitely over that threshold in American dollars too. So they do have that money, for sure. No doubt about it. So Sean Livingston, 3-time NBA champion, also hung up his shoes as well. 12 years ago, there was a knee injury that he sustained, and it almost ended his career.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, that's a guy you celebrate. Like, Torrey Smith, we're like, all right, cool, you're retired. Sean Livingston really deserves to be celebrated after what he had to fight through. He was a super talented player. He had an incredibly gruesome knee injury, fought his way back, went to the Nets, contributed there, earned himself a contract with the Warriors, and became a pivotal piece on a dynasty. What an absolutely great career, a great person, somebody that's motivational to kids everywhere that don't let anything stop you.
Sean Livingston, who dislocated his kneecap, his tibiofemoral joint. He overcame, quote-unquote, overcame long medical odds just to get back on the court. He had to learn to walk again before he could even think about getting back on the basketball court, or even returning to play at the highest level. This man had to learn how to walk again.
Yeah.
Let alone to win 3 NBA titles.
And he wasn't a bystander either. He was a very, very key cog on those teams. Like, he was a bench player, but he was a very heavily relied on bench player.
He was the seventh man on. He was the seventh man at times. On,
I would say yes.
In front of
absolutely
right behind Iguodala.
Yep.
And now that things have changed, now we'll call it San Francisco.
He wasn't very effective last year, so he wasn't worth the money anymore. It was time to move on. So it made sense. I think his contract was up.
Yeah.
It might have just been his contract was up, and they were like, "You're not worth this." I don't know.
He was done.
It was a basketball decision. This was not a personal decision. He wasn't worth the signing.
Moving forward, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon.
That's not moving anywhere.
That's not moving anybody, anywhere, anytime, anybody.
No, he seems like he's going to sit out a while.
And
another one of those things where we have no idea what's going on.
And
there.
the way that his contract is, because he's still on a rookie contract,
right?
He has to play, or he has to report at least 30 days before the season ends in order to be a UFA.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
No, I don't either. I mean, he's only going to make like $4 or $5 million this year, and he thinks he's worth more than 10. So it's not like a Le'Veon situation where Le'Veon left like $15 million on the table by not showing up. Gordon's third of that he'd be losing. So if Le'Veon was willing to do it, Gordon will absolutely stay as long as he can, show up, laze around, not be in shape, not be ready to play, and just get out of an entire season and then go to free agency. I don't think he's going to make that much because Le'Veon didn't win that whole scenario. Pittsburgh ended up giving him the best offer that he didn't take. So I just don't see people handing Gordon a ton of money. Running backs just aren't in demand. All the best running backs in the league have been drafted in like the last 2 years. That's how it works. You draft a guy, you play him as hard as you can until his rookie deal ends, and then either you cough it up and pay him then, or you let him go and do the whole process again. Gordon hasn't been that good. His underlying numbers don't speak to him being that good. He's put up a lot of touchdowns and yards, but he doesn't, I think it's like the tackle breaking and elusiveness, like he doesn't rate off the charts. And Austin Eckler just had an amazing game. The other
2
day.
touchdowns,
It's very clear that San Diego isn't losing that much with Gordon now. They can absolutely get by with Eckler, Justin Jackson, and if they had to bring in somebody else, they could. Running backs are a dime a dozen. He's fighting for something he's just not going to get. The $10 million offer that was reported that he got was fair to me. He should have jumped all over that, been happy, got some guaranteed money that he doesn't have right now. There's also running backs are so volatile with injury. Like, what is he doing? I don't get it. Play out the 5 this year, take an extension for like 3 or 4 years, $10 million after that, and live your life. Enjoy yourself. You're in a very fun city, beautiful weather, beautiful city. Like, enjoy yourself. You're on a good team. This is a championship caliber team if everything breaks right for them. Like, I don't know. I don't get what he's doing.
And not only that too, but we also have seen, Nick, that the way it looks and what we have heard too is that he's going to return this season.
Yeah, but he has
in mid-year.
But like he's going to do everything he can not to play. Either he's going to have an injury, or he's not going to be in shape, or he's going to be like almost insubordinate, I guess, or something. Like he's going to find a way to make it so this is a lost year.
Just a few days ago, it was officially reported that he was expected to return to his team as early as Week 6 for the game against the Steelers. And he's going to obviously hold out in hopes of a new contract. But something that also was reported to Nick is that he plans on reporting mid-season because it's not a, quote, Le'Veon Bell situation. It's not a whole situation. And he tweeted out earlier today, about 3 hours ago, stop listening to sources. You don't hear it quoted by me. It ain't me. Okay. And then earlier before that is that from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN saying, with Los Angeles showing little interest in a trade, Melvin Gordon will continue to, quote, protect himself with holdout, but will report to the team in 2019 per that source. Not a Le'Veon Bell situation, source said. He still wants to be a Charger. Mid-season / early November return looking more likely. And then obviously he followed up with, stop listening to sources. You don't hear it quoted by me. It ain't me. it sounds to me as if that it's not. It was a matter of time before he was going to return. He can't be anything. He can't get out. They can retain his rights just by looking at this. It's very obvious he's in the final year of this contract, but if he doesn't report by week 10, the season will not count, and the Chargers will still hold the rights to him for 2020.
That much? Do they even want him? Like, if Eckler's a star, do they really want to bother? Do they care? Gordon doesn't want to be there, so I feel like at some point they might just trade him for pennies on the dollar, take the roster spot, draft another running back, or do something else, and just move on. Like, Chargers have a lot of other guys that have to get paid. Derwin James needs to get paid at some point. Like, they have other studs that have to get paid. They can't sit here and pay Gordon 14 or 15 million. It's not proven, it's not worth it. They'll find a way around this. I think Gordon's almost playing himself out of there and hoping that somebody else is going to pay him the money because he's not getting it from San Diego. I just can't see it.
I don't see him getting it. Where could we see him go?
I have no idea. I don't understand what these running backs are doing. Where do they think this money's going to come from? Dell was lucky the Jets were the ones offering because I don't think there was much else out there.
Zeke Elliott also got
Zeke Elliott, I understand
money
because he's so valuable to his team. Gordon's not valuable to his team. Elliott was absolutely the most important player on the Cowboys' offense.
The offense
probably behind Dak, but the offense runs through Zeke.
Yep.
He needed to be there. Jerry needed to get him in the building. Zeke knew he had the right leverage. He played that situation correctly.
He did have that leverage, but at the same time, if you think about it, the running backs, yes, they're not worth as what you were saying that much. Unless you're like Zeke. Right, he's not, because really Phillip Rivers still has a lot left in the tank. Okay.
He's like 37. You gotta be careful.
Okay, well,
this could die at any time, but he's looked good still. Like, he's good enough that you assume he's going to keep playing, but this could end at any time. They do have to try and win that.
Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson right now, and really, let's not forget, there are still plenty.
Joey Jarzynka is still a free agent. So
that was the next person I was going to say.
Like, this is not, running backs aren't worth that much. There are names out there.
There are many names out there.
There are also teams that could end up letting guys like Carlos Hyde got traded to the Texans at like the last minute, started and had a great game. Like, running backs you can find anywhere, they're not worth that much unless you're an absolute 5-star stud who's super valuable to his team. You're really not that much of a win. After the top tier, everyone's in their own little block.
And the reason why, yeah, it's the truth. There's nothing left anymore for these running backs, unfortunately. We've seen it. We've seen it with Gordon. We're most likely going to see it with a few other. But how about this? LaShawn McCoy was released from Buffalo. He's not worth however much he was making. I think it was over $9 million he was making. He was making close to 10, I believe.
I think the only team that might even sniff around a Melvin Gordon might be a team like Houston next year. They really are the only team I'm looking at.
Lamar Miller.
Lamar, he just tore his ACL. Who knows if he's going to even come back and be good? That might be a situation where they can timeshare the two of those guys. But, like, are they going to pay him that much money? No. So it's a place where you could go and play. Maybe Atlanta, if Devonta Freeman doesn't ever get himself all the way back after his injury last year. But I think they still owe a lot of money to him. I don't know for sure if they can get out of that. Maybe they'd go for Gordon. Maybe.
Julio Jones was just paid.
Yeah, Tampa, maybe. If Ronald Jones doesn't run into something.
Peyton Barber. He had a big game.
Teams out there that really need running backs.
Peyton Barber had a big game on Thursday night as well. More happy things.
Yeah.
Chris Berman, Tom Jackson.
They're
back for NFL Primetime.
I'm so happy.
But on ESPN Plus. So you need a subscription. You need a subscription to get back into this. And Nick is clearly getting the chills from this. So Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, NFL Primetime for 19 years. Ended in 2005. They're back. They're back. The Blitz, I wonder if it's coming back. Who knows?
It's basically going to be that kind of format, I think. But it seems like it's going to run on Sundays.
That's
so
the way it looks.
Like a live kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I have to see how it works. It might be where they like just shoot out quick ESPN Plus, like a 2-minute video on, this highlight just happened, let's hear these two guys do it. Like, I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but I'm so hyped.
So the way
Stop. The old Sunday Night Countdown crew with Chris Berman, TJ, Chris Carter, Keyshawn, and Mike Ditka was the best show ever. I got up every Sunday morning when I used to have to get up for school at 6, and I watched the entirety of Sunday Countdown in the morning on ESPN because those guys were that good. Crew now,
That won't happen anymore.
I won't get up. I don't do it. Like, I watch eventually, but like it's not the same. I loved getting up and listening to that crew.
Am I free to go now?
Yes.
Swell.
Sorry.
Swell.
It was a very important thing to me. When I lost those guys, I was so upset when they changed everything.
According to ESPN's media advisory and press release, they're going to be joined, both of them, on NFL Primetime by Scott Van Pelt and also Joe Tessitore. They're going to be there, so unfortunately you're going to have to deal
Those two are both all right.
with them. The 60-minute show will stream live on ESPN Plus at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time each Sunday during the 2019 season, and will be updated with highlights from the Sunday night and Monday night games.
Wait, what? Oh, wait, update after. Okay.
There you go.
That makes sense. I like that. So it kind of goes on just as the 4 o'clock games are ending, and it'll bridge you to the Sunday night game.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. It's usually when you shower, to change your routine.
There you go. Well, you see, that's simply what you have to do. The New York Yankees. Let's not forget, MLB postseason is right around the corner, Nick. And actually, this morning, Yankees tickets went on sale, and I missed out. Not good. Yeah, bad stuff.
Yeah, we'll get it.
So that's very true. So the way it looks is that there is injuries again.
Every day.
Injuries every single day, Nick Partain. And let's look at this, at the injury report. And the way it looks is that Luis Severino is on his way
Do we
back.
have time to go through the injury?
I think we do. I think we do. And not only that, because it's not as big as some might anticipate.
Yeah, it's getting smaller.
It's getting smaller.
Sevy's
Sevy's coming
coming back.
back. Luis Severino is on his way back. Let's not forget also Jordan Montgomery is on his way back.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be on the playoff roster.
No, definitely not.
It's nice to see because he had that bad elbow injury at that Tommy John, so it would be cool to see him pitch a little bit at the end of the year, but that's only like a blip to see if he's getting healthy. And then he might be the number 5 next year. So it's important that eventually he's healthy, but seeing him for a month isn't going to change.
But let's not forget something that I do want to bring up here. James Paxton has been, and we have been very critical of him, as have the New York media, the Yankees fans. He's come to life.
Yeah. And
James
that
Paxton
Dodgers start where he absolutely
come to
shut
life.
down the Dodgers in LA, jump-started everything. He's been lights out ever since. He looks like a number 1 starter, and that's so nice to see.
Can we trust him? Can the Yankees trust him in the playoffs?
I trust his stuff and his mental makeup. We've seen him win big games this year. It's only injury that really worries me about Paxton, because he could get hurt any time. We've seen him have several injuries over his career. So, but I think he absolutely has the mental makeup for a playoff pitcher. It's hard to predict that because you never know what's going to happen, but I think he has it. If you roll into a playoff series starting off with Paxton and Tanaka, who always shows up in the playoffs, I'm very confident. Especially because their first-round opponent is probably going to be the wild card winner.
Right now, so far, he is 13-6.
Which is an excellent record.
And the last time he got the loss was July 26th at Boston. And as you said, that Dodger game on August 23rd, the day after my birthday, rather, went 6 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned, 11 Ks. But then, just a few days ago, September 3rd, Nick, against Texas, where he fanned 12 in 7 full, 1 hit baseball, and a walk. And then also, 6 2/3, 7 strikeouts against Boston. We see...
Right, so we're seeing big game in there. Dodgers is a big game. Boston is a big game. He came up to the plate and pitched great. Those are the things you want to see. Those are helpful to see when you're thinking about a possible playoff series. And the fact that hopefully he'll get eased in against one of the wild card teams, or figure either Tampa or Cleveland or Oakland. Hopefully not Oakland. They've been so bad against Oakland. I really hope Tampa or Cleveland wins because they have a better chance against them. But
I personally believe... What's your prediction? If Oakland gets it, if Oakland comes in and wins the wild card game, and they play the Yankees,
I'd have to
does
say
this go to 5?
I think it goes 5. I think it's the Yankees in 5 though, because I think they just have more talent, and I think the bullpen will end up actually being the difference because come playoff time, it's going to be shorter stints for the starters on both sides, and the Yankees have the better bullpen. So while they've had trouble with Oakland, when they're able to maximize their resources, hopefully Severino and Betances are on the team. That's 2 more fireball arms to add to that.
And they're not, and Severino will not be starting.
I mean, it's going to be so weird because, like, what does starting mean? He might only pitch 3 innings and
He'll
start.
be an opener.
Right. I don't know. It's very odd. Like,
Postseason, that's the way it is.
Right. Playoffs, every starter is basically an opener. You're lucky if you make it to 6 innings. So that's how it's going to be. Sevy might start games. He might not. He might do like a game split with CC like Dominic Herman just did the other day. Like, we don't know how they're going to play any of this out. They might have Chad Green start a game as an opener and then bring Severino in as a long reliever to keep him from facing the top of the lineup. We've seen him have trouble in the playoffs before getting out of the first inning. So who knows? We're going to see. It's going to be just a plethora of options and arms for the Yankees over a 5-game series. I think they win. Oakland will put up a fight.
Just 2 days ago, Nick, we did receive the bad news that Aaron Hicks is out for the year.
I don't think that was confirmed. It just seems very, 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 very likely because we don't know what's going on with him. He's had so many injuries. Things seem to linger with him. It's really...
According to MLB.com, it is confirmed out for season 2020, and there is a possibility that he may now need Tommy John surgery as of a September 12th update. So we may not see him at all next year, or, well, we definitely won't see him next year at all because he won't be... if he needs Tommy John surgery in his left arm, which is what he throws with, and he will not be playing a designated hitter role, obviously. It's not like a Didi Gregorius issue. And speaking of Giancarlo Stanton, he'll be back most likely sometime next week. And he now has become very important, Nick, because Mike Tauchman also had a grade 2 left calf strain against Boston. And he's out 6 to 8 weeks. So the way it looks is that if you really do the math, he's out the entire year. Yeah. He's out even in the playoffs too. And really, he would have been big on a playoff team. And unfortunately, J.A. Happ, can you trust him?
No. I mean, at this point, you're going to go into the playoffs, Paxton, Tanaka, and then some combination of CC, Sefi,
and Herman
and Chad Green are going to be your 4 starters. So you figure like Paxton and Tanaka will have like actual starts, and the bullpen will come in after, and then you figure maybe you have CC and German split 1 game, and Chad Green and Severino another, and that's your 4, probably. I don't know if you can trust Happ. He just hasn't been good. Maybe he makes the roster as a long reliever. Maybe they have an opener for him, but at this point, trotting him out there is dangerous. There are a lot of options for the Yankees in the bullpen, and if they get Severino and Betances healthy, that might actually push Happ off of the playoff roster.
And there's also a strong possibility, too, that Gary Sanchez... That one hurts, and in my opinion, I love my Yankees, but I don't see them getting to the ALCS.
They only have won 1 series to get the ALCS.
I don't see it. I don't see them winning the ALDS.
Really?
I don't see it, especially if it's against Oakland. I have them losing in 4.
They've always beaten them in the playoffs, though.
That is true, but then again, though, this is a completely different Oakland team that has their number.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'll be a good series, I think, but I don't know. It'll be something else.
Nick, let's take a peek at the 2019 MLB postseason picture. And you look at some of the way it looks right now, or the way that things are beginning to round out for the National League side of things. Christian Yelich.
I like
Christian Yelich is out for the entire remainder of the season, in the midst of a 7-game winning streak. Milwaukee has gone 8-2 in their last 10, and they're at St. Louis tonight. They're trying to chase the Cardinals for that NL Central spot. They're 4 games out.
That division is completely up for grabs. The wild card is completely up for grabs. It is wild right now. I love it.
Well, we know that the NL wild card is going to be played in Washington. We have that most likely secured.
3.5 out. It's likely, but the way things have been swinging lately, who knows? If Milwaukee keeps winning and Washington has 1 bad series, all of a sudden it can only be a half-game difference. We have no idea. Washington looks like they're the best team wild card wise, and they should hold on. Nothing is guaranteed. They're only 3.5 up. That is not that big of a difference. In retrospect, there are like 5 teams between Washington and Arizona who's 3.5 back of the second spot. So like everything is close.
I spoke with someone that is a writer for the New York Post, in Joel Sherman, and he did mention to me, and he said, I had it on Facebook as well, that there is a very distinct possibility that there could be, you ready for this, Nick?
Oh yeah, I love this.
A 5-team
It's
tiebreaker.
not very distinct. There is a possibility, but it's not like that.
It's not likely,
the records have to be
but...
like exactly perfect to be wild.
And the reason why is because right now, we'll give a good look, the Cubs and the Brewers are 78 and 68, 10 games over 500. The Mets and the Phillies are both 76 and 70, 6 games over 500. Arizona, 75 and 72 in the midst of a 5-game losing streak.
3 of those to hands the Mets.
Exactly. So, with Arizona right now, currently beginning to fade out of that
I
picture.
thought the Mets were fading out, and all of a sudden they turned it back on. They're only 2 back. Like things seem to swing week to week in this wild card race. Nothing's gonna be set until the last day.
No, I was gonna say week to week is beginning to come down to the final few weeks,
Right.
as
well,
it is
now we're on
September
Friday. Who knows
13th.
what's
Yeah.
gonna happen by the time next Friday comes around? There could be a completely different picture. Crazy.
And it's been wild in the last month since we've been on the air. It's absolutely crazy to see what's gone on with the Mets. And also something that we did see, that there have been multiple players who have homered off of Clayton Kershaw. Bo Bichette, Manny Machado, and someone else. J.D. Davis. Home run tonight off of Kershaw. And home run in L.A. against Kershaw.
Just update on the standings. The Cubs have put up quite the crooked number tonight.
17-8, bottom of the 8th at Wrigley. Pittsburgh, we knew they weren't going anywhere.
Washington's playing Atlanta, so like they could very easily lose 3 games to Atlanta and open the door for either Milwaukee or the Cubs to be right up their butts. That could all of a sudden be a very close race for the top spot and knock Washington down. Not knock them down, they can't catch them right now, but it could end up being very close.
Nick, let's close out this show with something that is quite sad and that has not happened in quite a very long time. USA men's basketball has lost in one of their worst ever performances in FIBA play. They couldn't get out of they couldn't even make it into the cup.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Like everyone dropped out. The guys that are there didn't play well enough. It's embarrassing for USA basketball. They don't need validation of winning into these tournaments for people to think they're the best in the world. It's unequivocal how much better they are than everyone else. All their stars are there. It's a joke. They know they can dominate at any time. These guys wanted to prep for the regular season, but like, I love the shade that was being thrown though after this. That they were saying like, oh, you remember those guys that dropped out, and they want to come back and play. They might not be a guarantee for roster spots, which is pretty fun.
I think that's smart.
You gotta tell those guys no, really. Especially if they're bowing out here and embarrassing themselves. I don't think they're saying no to anybody, but
Well,
I like they're throwing shade. It's fun. We know USA basketball is the best one. We can send it like this was a C team basically. We sent at best, and they didn't win it. But like an A
Donovan
team would
Mitchell,
dominate.
Harrison Barnes, Jaylen Brown,
Joe
Mason
Harris.
Plumlee, exactly, Mason
Are you
Plumlee,
kidding me?
Miles Turner,
I saw
Kemba Walker.
Something post this team, that exact team. Where would they be in the playoff picture in the regular NBA? We just threw that team in, copy all the players. Like the teams that they were normally on don't lose those players. Like we just threw that team in there. How would they do? I don't think they'd be in a competitive title team.
No.
Would they be alright? They'd probably be a playoff team in the East, maybe not in the West. Like they're not that good. Like this is an embarrassing team for America.
94 to 89 was the score in the classification games 5 through 8. They lost to guys like this: Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nikola Jokic.
To be fair, in that game it didn't matter. They were already knocked out. They legitimately didn't care. They were playing this day after they lost the heartbreaking France.
And Boban Marjanovic.
Yes, everyone roots for Boban.
Boban Marjanovic. Let's not forget about the Boban. Really, really good stuff. Lost by 10 points to France. Donovan Mitchell really
balled out for 3 quarters, and then apparently the fourth, everything fell apart.
Donovan Mitchell 29 points. Kemba Walker with 10. Marcus Smart with 11. Jason Tatum didn't play in that game. What's going on with Greg Popovich and this team?
I mean, they just weren't good enough. I mean, there's not a lot of talent there. It really isn't, and they didn't play cohesively, and they don't have enough long-range shooting, especially without Tatum. It was hard to stretch the floor, and I don't know. I can't imagine he's on Pop. Like, that's the worst possible thing. Like, we know Pop is one of the best basketball coaches of all time. He didn't have a lot of time to work with these guys. The guys that were originally there, like half of them dropped out as the weeks went by, so he kept losing guys that he was going to be starting and having to fill in new guys, and I just...
It wasn't a complete
If he
team.
would have won it, it would have been a major accomplishment for him to have won this thing. They were not a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination.
I personally also believe that in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, USA basketball is not a lock to win.
No, I mean,
It's
see
not.
what kind of roster they take.
Even
Big guys
if
there.
that, you have guys
Come
from Spain, you have guys from Serbia, from France. It can be.
No way.
It
They
could
would
be.
destroy everybody if they went with another type of redeem team. Do you remember the last time USA got embarrassed and the team that came out the next time? Where Melo had like that 35-point game off the bench. That team was incredibly loaded. And Anthony Davis was their last guy after he was the #1 pick. That team was stacked beyond belief. A team like that won't lose.
That was in
They
Rio.
had a close
Yeah.
game against Spain, but come on. No way if the best of the best Americans show up today.
If the best of the best
Right,
Americans.
that's
That's key.
That's what I'm going with. If they bring their A team, it's over. I'm sorry, I don't
That's
see them
fair.
losing to anyone. It might be a close game or two, but they're not.
I think they lose one game, matter of whom, we don't know, but we'll see. If we're still on the air next year, we'll definitely have to bring this moment back up.
You never brought back up me picking Pete Alonso in the home run derby. We should have done a live
That
replay
is-
of that so I can celebrate on camera.
That is very, very, very true. Nick Partain, I do have a few more questions to ask you back in baseball. Something that the way I see it and the way I personally believe that could be. MLB free agents, Nick. We have about 6 minutes to go here. MLB free agents, the best one
You mean for next year's
on the
race?
market.
Or right now?
No, for 2020,
Okay.
for next year, right? So at the end of this year. Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole. I don't believe he's going to be re-signed in Houston.
Well, I don't know. We've seen Houston spend money recently, like they went out and traded for Greinke, but I wonder if that trade for Greinke was because they think they're going to lose Cole. I think it depends on where Houston finishes this year. If they win the World Series again, they'd be more willing to let him go, because they have now the glory of winning a couple. Let's say they're losing the ALCS or something, they might be more like, oh man, we got to go for this again. I don't know for sure what their plan's going to be, but teams are going to bid a lot of money for Garrett Cole. He is going to be in major demand, so Houston might get priced out. You're going to see, that's going to be a fun player to watch. This isn't going to be a situation where guys don't bid on him. This isn't going to be one of those free agents that sits there for a while. This is not getting offered. People are going to offer him a ton of money.
I believe if anyone sits, it's going to be Garrett Cole, just evaluating all of his plans, and he's going to make the teams wait.
From lack of offers.
He's going to make the teams wait. And the same goes true for Anthony Rendon. Anthony Rendon, 29 years old. There was multiple rumblings of the Washington Nationals, trying to lock him up in the beginning, but he's having an MVP type year now. His OPS is over 1, and it's something crazy. I would not be surprised if he leaves the Nationals.
I'd be a little surprised because I feel like Washington will spend the money for him. I mean, they did offer Bryce Harper a lot of money. He didn't take it. They didn't really replace Harper with anyone expensive, so the money's there, clearly. I think they'll offer him whatever he wants.
They did give Patrick Corbin a ton
Yeah, but
of
they
money.
gave Corbin before they never pulled out of Harper because they signed Corbin. They were still willing to give Harper a lot of money.
6 years, 140.
Right. Corbin's been working. He's been very good.
He's been very good this year.
I think you know what? You never know. He goes to free agency, he sees another place that he likes, they offer him a ton of money too. Even if Washington offers him, he might leave. He might just choose to harper it up and leave. We don't know for sure, but if I'm guessing, I say it.
Same exact team. Steven Strasburg has an opt-out clause. At age 31 years old, will he pull a Clayton Kershaw opt-out? He has 4 years and $100 million.
I don't think he opts out. He's a
million
good
a year.
pitcher, but he's a volatile arm where they could snap at any time.
And he's already had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get more than that on the open market. And if he got more than that, it'd be very, very little, and it might be a team he doesn't want to play for. So I think he's happy in Washington enough that he just...
Looking at our New York Yankees, Aroldis Chapman, does he opt out?
Probably. He's having an absolutely dominant season. How much is left on his?
He is going to have
If he were to opt in.
2 years, if he were to opt in, 2 years, $34.4 million.
He's opting out. Because he'll get a ton of money from helping games. Like, they're not going to just let him go. Especially because Betances is probably going to end up leaving. They'd be crazy not to lock Chapman up. And while he might not get a higher yearly value, like he might not get more than $15 million, but I think they'll give him more years because they love this guy. How old is he?
32.
Still throwing fire though.
His fastball has definitely...
There might be a chance they let him go because they kind of pulled the same thing with Robertson this past year, where everyone loved David Robertson, but he was older. They let him go. They signed the younger Adam Ottavino. So we don't know. Maybe they do let Chapman go if he opts out. But I think he wants to be your Chapman. So I think either way, it'll end up getting worked out. But you know what? He might opt into that at 32 for 2 more big pay years. I don't know. Let's say he's having an amazing year, though. He's going to have leverage.
You know what's absolutely crazy, Nick? Hyunjin Ryu, guess how old he is?
He's young, isn't he?
Yeah, you'd think. 33.
Oh, wow.
He's 33 years old.
He's kind of tanking it right now, though, so he's not going to make as much this year as we may have thought. I think we've been pretty bad more recently than he had been. Like, he kind of lost out in the Cy Young race, I think, right?
Well, he was at one point. He did have that ERA a tiny bit over 1.
Right, and he was the
now
lock for a Cy Young for a while, and he's kind of tanked. He got hurt. He didn't pitch well for a while. I think he's kind of
9.95 ERA over his last 4 starts. Sheesh. Well, I don't think he's going to be anywhere. I think he's going to be staying right in the Chavez Ravine. There's no doubt about it. But the biggest question of all Yankees fans that they want to know, does Didi Gregorius come back?
I think so. Because it's not even just his on the field. He's a leader for this team. He's an emotional type man. He's maybe not having a great year. He's coming off a tough injury.
Tommy John surgery.
It's going to be hard to piece together an infield next year with so many good players, but it's a good problem to have. I think they're bringing him back. You don't know that Gio Urshela is going to be this good next year. You don't know that DJ LeMahieu is going to be this good next year. Torres is the kind of guy you're going to be like, yeah, he's going to be great, but I think you bring back Didi. This is the Yankees. They have the money. Hey, Didi, bring him back.
But you also have Miguel Andujar as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't
Miguel
know how his
Andujar,
health is going to be. He's coming off a serious injury. I'd rather have 6 amazing infield options and have to play 4 every day and rotate everyone in and out.
Or
Get
trade
everyone a ton
in
of reps.
spring training.
Or trade somebody if you truly believe everyone's healthy and ready. But right, I don't want Didi. Not a good idea.
There are numerous pieces for the New York Yankees, along with the rest of Major League Baseball, and even in the NHL, to see where things will play out. That's all for this edition of Primetime Rundown, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, also simulcast on SoundCloud. For Nick Partain, I'm Joey Jarzynka, and for the rest of us here at the Primetime Rundown and Blackjack Media, good night.